What's going on, y'all? I'm here to talk about the really cool buffs and changes I've made for Volcarona in my ROM hack Pokemon Scramble Scarlet. So as you can see on screen, Larvesta does optionally evolve into all three, basically Volcarona, Iron Moth, or Slitherwing, right? So another thing I want to get out of the way, actually I'm just going to say this first. If you're a competitively oriented player who clicked on this video because of the title and you're confused and you're losing your mind, oh my god, Drought, Volcarona, what is this guy smoking? Volcarona's already good. What? 600 BST, Pseudo Legend, what? Oh my god. So, that's understandable if this is your very first impression of this ROM hack and you know nothing about it. If you're not a huge ROM hack person to begin with, and so you don't really understand the differences between an in-game ROM hack versus a competitive, meta game, for example. These are not, they're two different things. So in the context of this ROM hack with the power levels and all this stuff, I mean, there are, a good amount of new pseudo legendaries and semi pseudo legendaries, and BST in general in this ROM hack is pretty arbitrary. It's mostly a flavor thing. In this case, I mean, Volcarona, first of all, definitely fits the vibes, obviously, as a pseudo legendary. I mean, it literally is like something that people often confuse, for one. Sorry, also, if I'm out of breath, because I just was doing, man, I just started kind of working out for my regular viewers, so I kind of like, what the fuck am I looking at? I'm trying to show you guys the other guys. I clicked the wrong link. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah. So I'll show these guys quickly on screen before I get into the actual Volcarona implications and stuff. But this is like the basics of what Slitherwing is, and this is the basics of what Iron Moth is. Again, check out their own respective videos for more detail, or I guess in-depth analysis of how those work and why I chose those things for them. Check the video out after this one. Don't click off yet because it'll mess up the watch time. Also, if you're a new viewer and you made it 2 minutes in, shout out to you. I appreciate you very much. Let me know in the comments down below if you are new and this is your first video of mine. With that being said, though, Volcarona, yeah, Drought. I mean, it's obviously a very fitting ability logically. The whole design of the mon is that they brought, sun, and they were worshipped as a god of the sun. Whatever. I mean, I can pull up the decks. I don't know why I would need to, but for all 2 of you who don't know already, yeah, I mean, read these. It's the rage of it's all about the sun. It's the deity of fire. It was revered as the embodiment of the sun. For example, in Sweltering Sun, they have Solar Rush, which is also really fucking cool and good, but I think that makes them a bit more boring compared to Slitherwing, who has Solar Rush now. So also, I feel like I have to give Volcarona like extra cool shit now that they have to compete with Iron Moth and Slitherwing in terms of like coolness, because of course tons of people are gonna just want to use those purely because they're paradoxes, right? So that goes for all of the non-paradox Pokemon that have paradox versions in this game. And if you're wondering why I didn't make Volcarona evolve into fucking Iron Moth and Slitherwing, I mean, it's a fair question, I guess. I mean, I'm being a bit condescending when I answer it because I feel like if you think about that just doesn't work conceptually at all, really, to me at least. And then also like balance-wise, like how are you gonna I guess keep Volcarona at 550 and then give it like boring abilities, because if it's Drought and it's like vanilla stats, without the extra bulk, then that's just objectively better. I mean, in regards to this version of Volcarona, not that it's objectively better in the evolutions because of the different typing and all that stuff. I just feel like that's so much less interesting and less logical. I think it's much cooler to have a 3-way split evolution, and all of them are pseudos, 600 BST type of deal. Volcarona, of course, is the most it's very strong. I mean, I don't need to explain why Drought is very strong. And then as for Serene Grace, you can read this little bit and that explains it, but basically the main 2 things with Serene Grace are Revelation Dance and Fiery Dance. Both of those are a 50% special attack boost, and those moves are balanced around the fact that you should not be clicking those in-game to get a boost, unless you're running Serene Grace. Like, you should never run Drought, Fiery Dance trying to get a boost. In competitive, it's a different story, but in-game, you have so many more consistent options versus the AI. You should never be risking that 50-50. There's no reason to. I guess because you can't even prep around that. You can't prep around a 50-50 safely in a Nuzlocke. Like, you just can't. At least in regards to you getting a 50-50. You should be prepping as if you never get 50-50s, period, ever. Like, any 50-50, you just lose them all. That's how you should be prepping if you're, playing smart. And this is one of those cases where you would be quote-unquote losing a 50-50, I guess. Other cool tools that Volcarona has that obviously the typing alone is different, right? The typing gives you different, unique type advantages and disadvantages over the other 2, both offensively and defensively, versus, the bug fighting and the fire poison. They share Levitate with Iron Moth, so that's not a unique trait, but it's still a good one, of course, with infinite ability changing. You can switch to Levitate whenever you need it. And then Serene Grace, again, very good sweeping tool for the end game. Otherwise, the only use for Serene Grace before then is like cheesy, like air slash para flinching shit, or bug buzz. Bug buzz also has a 30% flinch rate, but that's very inconsistent and mostly just for like the AI could abuse Soaring Grace, but even then, the 30% versus 60% is the same shit in regards to prepping, so it doesn't really matter either. It's mostly just useful for the end game, because like Scarf, Revelation Dance, or Scarf, Fiery Dance, or Quiver Dance into Serene Grace, Fiery Dance, Revelation Dance, I mean, that's fucking, it's crazy sweeping potential. Personally, my least favorite for that reason, because I don't like sweeping at all. So I personally wouldn't really pick this, because I don't like the playstyle that it's encouraging, but it's still cool nonetheless. And of course, earlier on, I mean, you've got the big drought nukes, you've got your burn up, you've got your wildfire, your blast burn to overheat, all that fun shit. Burn up, always burning, and then also removing your fire typing, while blast burn is essentially what overheat is in vanilla. It's fire type Draco. The reason for that, by the way, is because Zap Cannon and Hydro Cannon and Leaf Storm and Frenzy Plant all do the same thing now, so like in regards to dropping your attacking stats by -2. So Overheat is now Special Flare Blitz instead, which is obviously very good with Choice Scarf. You can spam that, meanwhile you can't spam Blast Burn or Burn Up or Wildfire. Wildfire is a fire type Wicked Blow, but again, it can't be used twice in a row, so while it is very strong, you have to switch your moves after, and on something with this type of speed tier and no speed boosting ability, I mean, unless you're out, if you want to outspeed fast things, you're gonna have to run Scarf. There's am I blind? Oh, there is Flame Wheel. Good thing I wanted to mention that. Flame Wheel does give you a +1 speed boost as well, so you could, weaken something, U-turn out or pivot out into your Volcarona, or just hard switch, whatever, get your Volcarona in and then finish them off with a Flame Wheel, and that gives you a +1 speed boost, and then you go crazy. You don't have to waste a turn clicking, because the advantage of moves that boost your speed is that you can kill the AI's Mon and boost your stat at the same time, and not have to take a hit from them, right? So for example, Quiver Dance, obviously, while it's great, you have to there's something in front of you when you're clicking Quiver Dance, always. Meanwhile, with Flame Wheel, there isn't, because you're clicking Flame Wheel, you're killing something. Even with Drought, it's strong. I mean, it's not like the strongest thing in the world, but if you get something to like half HP, you can definitely just Flame Wheel to finish them off. And then you're running either Drought or Serene Grace, and you can go from there with all your coverage. You get tons of cool coverage now. Comp players are losing their mind when they see the Earth Power Volcarona. What is this guy smoking? Or Aura Sphere, all that crazy stuff. In a competitive context is crazy, because Volcarona is inherently like a really uncompetitive Pokemon, especially with Terra and shit. But that's not what this is at all. Larvesta, I want to cover too, because again, level 40, that's like half the game. I mean, I don't want to do all the math right now, but it's like maybe definitely the first third of the game in terms of boss fight number, and roughly the first half of the game in terms of levels is when you would get Larvesta by. When you would get Volcarona or the evolution or the other two by. But Larvesta's great on its own. You've got that Solar Rush, you've got that Drought for the raw damage, you've got that Flash Fire for that unique immunity. You could, in theory, also delay a little bit and keep Larvesta. You could keep Larvesta the whole game if you wanted to. I mean, that's up to you. You can. It's got enough tools for it. But even just to delay it a little bit, if you want to keep that fire immunity, because the other ones are, the closest thing you have to a fire immunity is a fire resist on Iron Moth. While Volcarona is neutral, and then of course Slitherwing is weak to it. So if you want to, for a specific matchup, keep that Flash Fire Larvesta past level 40, you totally can. Very, very cool little tool there, and I just think, Flash Fire logically fits pretty well with this little guy. Solar Rush as well, mainly because Serene Grace is useless until you get the consistent moves, because all that hacksy shit is not something I want to encourage the player to ever play around with. Anything with lower than a 50% secondary effect with Serene Grace should be not taken into account, I guess, when it's the player. Unless you're playing for fun and you're playing fully casually, then sure, go ahead and try to Bug Buzz, Scarf, flinch everything down, go crazy, man. But that's not what this game is balanced around, But yeah, Sandsear Storm is a really unique tool as well, so that's another, I was trying to say this earlier, that's another unique tool that Volcarona has over its evolutions. Sandsear Storm plus Wide Lens is essentially a free burn and 90 base power move. You have to run Wide Lens for it, just for balancing reasons, because, it's not that widespread, but maybe a good handful, or maybe almost 10 Mons are going to get access to it, so it's a lot of Mons, versus something like Steam Shot or whatever is also a guaranteed burn priority move, or Spicy Extract, but those are on Scovillain, Walking Wake, and Volcanion, so it's much better, much more reasonable, to balance, because you can just let that specific Mon have their really cool tool. But when it's 10 Mons, then it's alright, now it's a little bit absurd. Not to mention those two moves that I listed are much weaker than Sandseer Storm is. But yeah, very cool tool both offensively and defensively. It's the priority. It's a very strong. Like you don't even have to use it for the burn. You can also just use it as a strong priority move if you want. Speaking of, you've also got Ignite for priority. You could even, for some niche situations, slap on First Impression as a TM if you want to. You know, if something's weakened or whatever. There's so much room to prep, right, in a game like this. So little tools like that definitely can be made use of, even if they don't look immediately useful to you as somebody looking at all the move pool stuff. Siphon is really great on early game on Larvesta and the whole game on all of them. It's essentially bug type draining kiss. It's 45 power, but it heals you 100%. So that's super strong. Struggle Bug is great. I mean, that drops offensive stats by 1 guaranteed. String Shot drops offensive stats by 1 and speed by 2. That's a great tool. You got Molt for earlier in the game for bug type recover. You've got Morning Sun at level 30, which is obviously much better in drought or in the sun. And then you got Roost as well in Volcarona just because it's a TM, so they get it. Yeah, tons of cool little flying coverage like Aeroblast, Hurricane, of course, makes sense there. Bug Bomber pretty early on because I mean Bug isn't nearly as powerful as like Drought Fire type moves in this case. Although a 112 base power consistent multi-hit Bug move is obviously very good. It breaks sashes and stuff too, so that's great for like Quiver Dance sets or whatever you want to do. I mean, really all types of things you can pull off. Quiver Dance is at the end of the game. Revelation Dance and Fire Dance are as well. I might even push those a bit earlier, but I don't know, it's just so boring. Like it's just I don't know. It's sometimes things like this will come up, and I'm sure tons of people love it. They love snowballing and sleeping, but I think it's very boring versus AI because you're just clicking the same button and you're just cheesing stuff. I could push them a bit earlier though. Also, I just realized I'm bulk recording right now. I forgot the damn Brutal Bash. Let's see how many videos I can bulk record and forget the fucking Brutal Bash on Great Tusk. But yeah, I mean, overall, Drought, Blast, Burn, and Burn Up are huge nukes. You can use those to, get some kills that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get. Drought has team support, of course. It activates your allies' abilities. It activates, Solar Beam. It activates all types of things, items, moves, not items, but moves like Solar Beam abilities, and can overall just be a really good support tool. And Levitate, of course, like I said earlier, is good to switch to when you need that immunity. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've covered pretty much everything here. As for the evolutions, again, you can watch those respective videos to understand how those work. As for the stats, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I felt kind of weird making them a 575, semi-pseudo if the other paradoxes are all going to be 600. It feels kind of weird to me, especially because, like, I don't know, it's just extra 25. It makes sense to be tanky to me anyways. 100 HP, makes enough sense. It's like a big giant moth deity type of thing. Defense being, solid. I mean, this thing's fat, dude. 185, 115 with investment is like super fat. So definitely can be used very nice defensively as well. You got your guaranteed burn moves, you got your debuffing moves, you've got your pivot moves, all that good stuff. So you can definitely use this defensively as well, or utility. Yeah, thank you for listening. Let me know if you made it to the end. Again, Larvesta, I want to quickly repeat, is very strong for the early game. I mean, that's the reason I only give it Ignite until level 15, because otherwise it's like, holy shit, Drought 95, special attack early game is really fucking strong. Ignite in general is really strong. So Fire Spin, I mean, level 15 is honestly a little generous, but I let him cook a little bit. So, you can check the level caps and see when you would get access to that by, and same for, Bursting Flames at level 20. That also is a multi-hit move, same as Bug Bomber, although it's not a crit move, obviously. It's just 75 power. Bursting Flames, very reliable, nice option with Freeliner, and of course just good stab until you get Fire Pledge if you're not using it for the multi-hit effect. Yeah, Bug Buzz, consistent 95. Pollen Puff is 90, and you get that really early as a TM, so that's really good. You can get that as early as level 13, depending on that. I did give them Pollen Puff. I mean, their mobs are kind of pollinators, so I just like it, and also giving them a stronger bug stab before Bug Buzz is nice. Struggle Bug is obviously more of a utility option with that 60 power and the debuffing option. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Let me know if you made it to the end. I appreciate you if you did, and check out the other ones after this. Peace.